So in this series, we have talked about teams who only try to make the crown jewel events, teams that just focus on certain types of racetracks like road courses or short tracks, and then teams who have just done whatever the hell that they want. Today we're going to be focusing on a team that just focused on the West Coast swing. This is, by the way, one of my favorite Go-Homer teams. It's now time to talk about Ash Motorsports. Ash Motorsports was a team that always tried to make some of the West Coast races between 2002 to 2010. Brandon Ash was the owner as well as the driver, and he is most well known for running part-time and full-time in the West Coast ARCA series. Although he never was able to collect a win down in that series, there was a few times where he almost wound up in victory lane. And the track that he was the closest at getting a victory at was none other than Sears Point Raceway, better known as today as Sonoma. He had so much success at this racetrack and absolutely loved it that he decided to open up a Cup team in 2002 to try to make the race at Sonoma. Although he was not able to make the Cup race, he did have a Cup team now and decided that he would run more races as the years went on the West Coast. The main track he would always try to make was Sonoma, but there was a few times where he tried to attempt some races at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, Phoenix International Raceway, and even some races at Kansas and Watkins Glen. The team would not make their first ever event until 2004 at Sonoma, their fifth attempt in the Cup series. The team unfortunately had to park their car after the halfway point due to some rear end issues. However, they proved that they could actually make it into some Cup races, and they actually beat two teams that day. In 2005, they decided to do the West Coast swing as well as add on a race at Kansas. Unfortunately, they were not able to make the race at Las Vegas, Sonoma, or Phoenix. However, they were able to qualify for the Kansas race, and Brandon Ash actually qualified 18th. Brandon Ash actually raised a few eyebrows in that Kansas race because he ran really well in the first part of the race. Unfortunately, he got taken out by Dale Earnhardt Jr., and he was credited with the 42nd position. In 2006, Ash Motorsports would try to make the most races that they have ever attempted in a year. They would attempt all the West Coast races minus the race at Fontana, as well as Watkins Glen. Out of those 5 races, they were able to make 2 of them, the one at Phoenix where they actually led a lap, and then the 2006 Sonoma race, which, believe it or not, was my first ever NASCAR race. The finishes were not that spectacular, as his best finish so far up to this point was a 38th place finish at Sonoma. However, the team kept showing up year after year trying to make the races at Phoenix and Sonoma. The only issue was, as time went by, the harder it was for the team to qualify in. Because between 2007 to 2010, when they introduced the car tomorrow, Ash Motorsports was only able to make 1 race, meaning they DQ'd the other 7 events that they attempted. The 2010 season was the worst because this would be their final year as an organization, and unfortunately they would not make a single race in the Cup Series. Meaning that a team that always showed up with some really badass paint schemes and always on the entry list, which I was super excited whenever I went to a Sonoma race, unfortunately was shut down their Cup organization by the end of 2010. With 22 attempts between 2002 to 2010 and only able to make 5 races with the best finish of 38th, as much as I love this team, unfortunately they will go down as one of the worst ever Cup teams to try to make the West Coast races.